Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're jumping into a landmark Supreme Court case where modern crime fighting smacks right into one of our most fundamental rights, personal privacy. So here's the question at the center of it all. It sounds pretty simple, right? But the answer to this question kicked off a massive legal battle that would totally redefine the line between police power and our own personal freedom in the 21st century. Okay, so picture this. It's 2009. And a guy named Alonzo King gets arrested in Maryland on assault charges. He's going through the normal booking process, but this time, something is different. Along with the usual fingerprints and mugshot, the police take a DNA sample from him, using a quick swab of his cheek. And bam! 3 weeks later, that little cheek swab gets a hit. King's DNA profile matches evidence from an unsolved rape case from way back in 2003. Now, this new evidence gets him convicted for that crime, but, and this is the big but, it also sparked a huge constitutional fight that went all the way to the Supreme Court. This is the exact question that landed on the Supreme Court's doorstep. I mean, they took his DNA before he was convicted of anything. The court had to figure out if this amazing new crime-solving technology had finally crossed a constitutional line, specifically the Fourth Amendment. All right, so let's break this all down. To really get what's at stake here, we've got to understand the two big pieces of this puzzle, the technology itself and the constitutional rules it was up against. So you've got the Fourth Amendment, which is all about protecting us from unreasonable searches and seizures. And honestly, this entire case boils down to that one little word, unreasonable. Is swabbing someone's cheek when they get arrested without a warrant for that specific search, is that reasonable or is it a step too far? Now, the process itself is pretty straightforward. You get arrested, they swab your cheek, easy. Then in the lab, they create a DNA profile using what's often called junk DNA, the parts that don't reveal personal traits. Then that profile gets uploaded to a huge database called CODIS, where it's run against DNA from all kinds of unsolved crimes. The key here isn't the swab itself, it's what they do with it that started this whole debate. And when I say the database is huge, I mean huge. We're talking over 11.5 million profiles. This system, which is run by the FBI, has become an absolute game changer for law enforcement. It's like a superpower for solving cold cases. Okay, so with all that context, let's head into the courtroom. First up, let's look at the argument that actually won the day, which came from the majority opinion written by Justice Anthony Kennedy. Kennedy's argument was basically this. Look, taking a DNA swab is just like taking fingerprints, or a mugshot. It's a standard part of the booking process. The majority saw this not as a search for evidence of new crimes, but simply as a high-tech way to identify the person they had in custody, a 21st century fingerprint. So their argument really boiled down to a few key points. The main purpose is just to identify the person. It's a tiny intrusion, quick and painless. It's just a normal part of the booking routine. And importantly, it's about safety. Knowing who an arrestee really is helps police assess if they're a risk. For them, it was all about identification. But not everyone on the court was buying that. Not by a long shot. In fact, there was an incredibly powerful, and I mean fiery, dissent from Justice Antonin Scalia that painted a totally different picture. Scalia did not mince words. He called the whole identification argument a transparent farce. Ouch. He said flat out, make no mistake about it, this is a suspicionless search to solve past crimes. For him, this had nothing to do with identifying Alonzo King for his current arrest. It was a pure and simple fishing expedition. So the dissent's logic was pretty clear. They said the real goal here is to find evidence for other crimes, and doing that without any specific suspicion is a classic Fourth Amendment violation. They pointed to the timeline. King's DNA results took weeks. You don't wait weeks to identify someone. And they worried this set a dangerous precedent, one that could lead to what Scalia called a genetic panopticon, where the government could take anyone's DNA for even minor offenses. And this comparison just nails the dissent's point. Look at the difference. Fingerprints, they're for identification, and you can get a match in under half an hour. DNA, that's about crime solving, and it takes weeks, sometimes months. A fingerprint tells you who you have. A DNA sample can tell you what else they might have done by linking them to unknown crime scenes. It's just a totally different ballgame. So, there you have it. Two incredibly powerful and completely opposite visions of the Fourth Amendment. A 21st century fingerprint on one side, an unconstitutional search on the other. So, after all that, how did the Supreme Court actually rule? The final vote was 5-4. 4. I mean, it does not get any closer than that. This was an absolute razor-thin decision, which just shows you how deeply this issue divided even the top legal minds in the country. And in the end, the court sided with Maryland. The majority's view won. Justice Kennedy's argument that a DNA swab is a reasonable part of the booking procedure, just like a fingerprint, became the law of the land. So the Maryland versus King decision settled the law, for now. But it leaves us all with this huge critical question that's only going to get more important as technology advances. Where exactly do we draw the line between keeping society safe and protecting our own personal privacy? It's a tough one, and it's a debate that is far from over.